Yeah, he's in South Carolina. Closed on his house yesterday. Closed on a house yesterday. Family's moving. It's a, I don't know. He's still working here. So he'll be here for the majority of the year. He's the incoming president of the Rotary Club next year, so got him at least for 2 years. It's virtually.
He's not running down to South Carolina.
You call me grandpa.
No, he's down there now, but his wife has given him news, and when we said retired, he's like, yeah, Dave. So, Tara, it's all that. On this one, number 2, so you're just adding it. Is there a place that you?
Are you talking about this, Eric?
Yeah. I assume that's the number 2 that you're talking about, correct?
This is what you were talking about.
No, to amend number 2 in the title.
2 in the title. Front page?
They give me a comment.
There's 1, 2.
Oh, that 2.
Yeah.
In the title itself. Gotcha.
This is just so many comments, they never. It is.
I don't know. I mean, I bet they have it.
Michael Schwartz.
Has joined.
Oh, yeah. It's such a small group. I can't see anything. It's outside.
I understand what she's.
I gave you one.
Yeah.
Oh, mine? Okay. Did you, need a packet?
I can go upstairs and get one.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I'd like to call the regular planning commission meeting of May 10th to order at 6 p.m. Could the clerk please take roll?
Commissioner Seals,
Present.
Commissioner Burney,
Here.
Commissioner Bushnell,
Present.
and Commissioner Sage L is absent and excused.
Thank you. Commissioner Burney, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Throw that over there. Does the commission have any adjustments to tonight's meeting agenda? The commission would like to discuss anything under the consent agenda, such as the minutes. They will need to be pulled out and put under new business at this time. Hearing no changes to the agenda stands as presented. All right, we'll go to reports. Do we have a report from our deputy administrator?
Yeah, just a quick little update. I've got some reports up here of things the city's working on, but just some things to note is we're seeing quite a bit of activity at the Menard Center, and it's really transitioning from being an event-focused business to facility rentals. And so that's really showing some good economic engine, especially if you own a restaurant here in town and all the wrestlers are here. So that's bringing a lot of people here to the city. We were awarded by the Department of Commerce a $70,000 economic development grant, and last night the council matched that $70,000. So that would be great. We have started our 4th of July parade coordination. We are doing sponsorships this year for business. We have 8 sponsorships available, and as of today, 4 of them were bought. So that's something new that we're doing for the parade. And then the last thing is we are sponsoring, in conjunction with North Rim, a Matsu Commercial Investment and Development Forum. It's going to be lunch at Evangelo's to talk about some of the disruptions in just commercial building and supplies and workforce. So you'll want to make sure you go to that. It's the end of the month. Thank you.
All right. City Attorney, I heard you online. Did you have a report?
I'm here. No report for me today. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. And City Planner, are you online?
Yeah, I'm on. Can you hear me okay?
You can.
Okay, so the only thing that I would report at this time is that let you guys know that the Landscape Review Committee is going to the City Council on May 23rd for confirmation of their appointment. Don't anticipate any problem with that, so hopefully their first meeting will be in June, and then they'll start doing some regular meetings. I believe it's set up for up to 6 months, so it'll kind of be up to them to self-regulate. And then after they get their recommendations, we'll bring them back to this commission.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. And Public Works Director, is there anything from?
Well, I guess there's one thing we can report on. One thing we can report on is that we have completed the mock-up of the airport terminal. So now we completed our paperwork to this ITJA, this Jobs Act that's coming out. So we've got our application in with Berkowski's office. We have an appropriation from the governor and a capital budget for $14.4 million. It sounds like there may be another appropriation coming from the feds. And so we're moving along pretty fast with that.
Thank you. All right. This is the public participation portion of the hearing. Anyone wishing to step forward to discuss anything that's not on the agenda tonight can do so. Please write your name, contact information on the sheet provided, and state your name for the record and whether or not you live in the city limits. You'll have 3 minutes in which to speak. All right, with seeing no one present to speak on items that aren't on our business tonight, we're going to close the public participation. Time for the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Burney, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Seals seconds.
Are there any objections to the motion that's been made and seconded? Hearing none, motion carries. The consent agenda is approved as presented. Move on to new business. Mrs. Crawford, could you please introduce item number 1 and provide your staff report?
Sure. For the record, Tina Crawford, City Planner, and I apologize that I'm not able to be there tonight, but it's better for me to be home than to be exposing all of you guys, so I appreciate your tolerance with doing it over the phone. So the item that's on our agenda tonight, the applicant is K&amp Civil Constructors. Their proposal is to amend 2 previously approved use permits, use permit 1602 and 1702. they're looking to accomplish several things. First is to extend the extraction approval period to approve the clearing and excavation of an additional 9.5 acres, to allow excavation within 4 feet of the water table, increase the hours of operations for sales, rock crush, and gravel extraction, to amend the setback from Lake Lucille Creek from 200 feet to 75 feet, to remove the reclamation requirement to add topsoil and seed for future development, and to clear up to an additional 15% of the lot. So in this particular one, you have a handout tonight. There's some proposed motions. They're more clarifying than necessarily content-oriented. They are covered in the staff report and in the applicant's package. But for clarity, in working with the city attorney, we thought these would be helpful to make sure the resolution was clear as to what was being approved. So after you hear the staff report and the applicant, then if you would please consider adopting those motions too. So this particular one is a use permit. We elevated it. We've historically elevated it because of the potential for noise for gravel extraction. The previous two had numerous comments from the public. This one did not have many it didn't have any comments from the public at all. So I think that kind of supports the request for some additional hours and operation. You have the staff report on pages 9 through 21. It outlines the general approval criteria that the application must meet in order for the Planning Commission to approve it. And because it's gravel extraction, it also has specific approval criteria. All of those are included in your package. They've all been addressed. With the conditions of approval that are in place, either new conditions or existing conditions, it's staff's opinion that it would meet all of these criteria, and therefore the recommendation is approval. See if there's anything else. So you have maps on 23 through 25 that show you the area, an aerial, the zoning map. You have site plans on pages 26 and 27. One of them's color, helps you understand the impacts. The other one is the actual site plan provided by the applicant. And then you have your draft resolution 22-02 on pages 103 through 116. And there was one other thing I wanted to add to that. I mean, I'll be glad to answer any questions more in depth. But I think that, like I said, the record stands for itself and supports it. There is what I think was most helpful in the package, or at least it was me, which is why I included. The applicant had drafted a table that outlined the request, and I modified it some just for clarity of information, but it's in the staff report, starting on page 10 of your package and rolling to page 11. So that kind of gives you that detailed breakdown of exactly what's changing. And then your conditions of approval include the amendments that are going forward. So with that, I will stop. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And then I know the applicant has all the detailed information also.
Do any of the commission members have any questions for the city planner at this time?
None at this time.
Mrs. Crawford, this is Commissioner Bushnell. I do have one question for you.
Okay.
You said that it was everything was that the applicant had asked for was approved or not approved, or was everything? I saw one, and I wasn't sure. I wanted to ask about it, and it was in the resolution they asked for not a clarification, but an amendment to how much of the property could be seeded, and to have it adhere to the same as DOT standards, which was to seed the slopes, but leave the flat gravel for a future industrial base. And I saw in the conclusion that part was actually left where we were still requiring grass and seed, or soil and grass seed across the entire project.
Okay, that wasn't the intent. So let me just look real quick. If you look in your, however, steadily in the pit.
Did I misread it?
Oh, yes. No, you did not. It was supposed to be stricken.
Okay.
That last sentence was.
So we
I
need to
believe
make
it
an
is.
amendment.
Yep, there is one additional amendment you need to make. So it's for condition number 10. You would need to strike the second sentence in its entirety.
Okay.
I know why I left it there. I wanted to put a note there for that to be a subject of discussion. So the reason that staff and the previous public works director did not have a concern with that revision was because there's already a plan in place. The property owner, Mr. Ketchum, has a plan in place for redeveloping that site. But you may want to put in something in there, a time limit, that if it's not redeveloped as he's proposing within a certain period of years, you may want to have that grass requirement. Okay, so it's my understanding he wants that leave it gravel because he already has a plan to go in and do development, and to go in and put topsoil and grass seed right away doesn't make sense when he's going to turn around and develop it or sell it for development.
Okay. City Attorney, could I ask you to weigh in here on maybe an appropriate way? Because I'm thinking we could make this really messy, unintentionally.
I think the way that Tina suggested it would be to do a motion to make the various changes to the resolution. That'll keep it clean, and that'll just make sure that everyone is on the same page and is voting on the same thing at the same time.
I'm referring to putting a timeline on the motion that we're discussing at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Can you repeat the question again then? I'm sorry.
Sure. We were discussing adding another motion, which we haven't got to the motion portion, but item number 10, which was striking the second half of that 10, however, starting with however. And
That I'm fine with.
But then Mrs. Crawford made a request that potentially we put in a timeline, which makes sense, that once the project is completed, in the future, if it is not done with such and such a time, that there would be, that requirement would need to be met. And I was just, without wordsmithing it up front, I'm trying to think of a way.
And we're talking about future industrial development, right?
Correct.
Maybe you could say, I'm shooting off the hip here. If the site is not put to industrial development within X period of time, the following condition
I got
the
it.
applicant,
You gave
the
me
applicant shall be required to,
you gave me the idea.
Yep.
I got something I can write.
I'll listen to you when you read it into the record.
I will try to keep it short and precise.
There we go.
Alrighty. Do any of the commissioners have any questions after that discourse?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mrs. Crawford, do you have anything else?
No, I do not. Thank you.
At this point in time, I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward. Have 5 minutes, do a presentation. State your name for the record.
I brought some visual aids to help.
It will be important that you talk into the microphone so the people online.
Good evening. My name is Matt Ketchum. I am co-owner of K&H Civil. Okay, I'll jump right into this. I brought several just blown up displays of our site plan, and these are 2 of the 4 pages of the site plan that you guys have in your packet. The first one on my left and on your right is just a blown up color of our site plan. And I'm gonna have to move over here so that I can help explain it. One of the things, and this is for Tina, is I didn't see this specifically in the proposed resolution, but about the pond excavation. But I guess I want to give you guys an overall of this. The green that you see on the right-hand side, which is the east side, is the frontage to South Clap. The green on the north line that's adjacent to Lucille Creek is a wetlands area and a 100-year floodplain area as defined by the Matsu Borough. So those green areas quantify 12.4 acres of the parcel. The parcel is 63.3 or 4 acres. I think it's actually 63.4. So we're over that undisturbed area is in excess of the 15%, not by much, but it is. So that's the undisturbed area that we are proposing. The purple that you see is the to be mined and future mined area. Some of it is fine to be mined right now in our current site plan, but most of that purple there is really in the extended 9.5 acres that we want to clear and additionally mine. Okay, what that's going to do is it's going to extend the life of the pit probably a year. And then the pond that you see on the west side in the blue, it's approximately 6.3 acres. That we think that'll extend the life of the gravel extraction by a season or 2, depending on just the quantities that we have. So that kind of gives you an indication of the significant colors on there. The yellow is our staging area, our office, our truck scales, and the main entrance to this parcel. And to date, we have really only used one entrance. There is another entrance to the south of there into the largest green area that's already an approach, a paved approach that may get used in the future, and wouldn't require much clearing to use that for access into the parcel. The orange squares that you see on there is a topsoil processing area, which we're going to screen and process topsoil for retail and commercial markets, and it's going to be a very, very strong year for that. And then the largest orange is where our crusher and our crusher and our screening plant, which we own, will be set and moved around quite a bit. So that's kind of the lay of that. That's a 2-dimensional map. The other map shows some sections through the site plan, which will help give it that 3rd dimension to help really kind of clarify what the slopes are going to look like, topsoil and seeded, and then what even the pond profile is going to look like. So one of the things going through Ms. Crawford's recommendation there, it's a little unclear, and I wouldn't mind clearing it up. The hours of operation, there's 2 of them in there that contradict each other, and the reason they do is on the first set of hours of operations was really for the overall operation itself. The second set was for when we were crushing, okay? So it's a little clunky in there with hours of operation, so maybe we can get that clarified tonight.
We have some language to.
And I've seen the other amendments that Ms. Crawford has, and those are reasonable. As far as topsoil and seeding the floor of this, I mean, our plan is to subdivide this in 5 or 6 years and sell these off to other industrial type businesses. And so if you do put some sort of stipulation on there, would that condition follow with that, and how do we split the property up? And we don't know if we're gonna have 4 parcels or 3 larger parcels. We don't know that yet, but there is a drawing in your packet there of just kind of a potential plat would be. One of the things my business partner and I have discussed is even once the aggregate has been extracted from the property and we've been able to redevelop the floor in the area so that will sustain industrial type uses, is that heck, we'd like to have an asphalt plant and a concrete ready mix plant on that parcel. And then the aggregates would be simply hauled in from an off-site source, and this is done in many municipalities around the country where you've got those type of industrial plants within the city close to that helps reduce traffic, and then aggregates are simply brought in off hours and off season times, stockpiled, and then used in the retail and commercial market. So I'm really pleased to see that Tina is accepting a lot of the things that we were wanting to change in this, and I would like to try to answer any questions that you guys may have specifically.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
For the record, this is Tina Crawford. Just for Mr. Ketchum, I did want him to note, if you look at in the resolution that's up for adoption tonight, Resolution 22-02. Let's see, I just lost it. Oh my gosh, sorry. Oh, it's the condition number 3. It does, what it does is condition number 3 says your new site plan is the one that you submitted with this package. So your old site plan, your old excavation plan goes away, and this is the replacement. So your pond is addressed. It's not specifically called out, but the condition says that you now operate, if it's approved, under this new site plan.
Thank you for that, Ms. Crawford. I thought the same thing, that if you adopt this new site plan, that clearly includes that. It just didn't say it anywhere. So I mean that's fine with me, Tina, if it stays in there just like number 3.
Okay, I just wanted you to know that, it was intended to replace the one you had, so it would be covered.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. And as far as questions go, we're going to open it up for public comment first, and let you come back, and you have 5 minutes then to add to whatever the public has said, or to contradict whatever you need to say. And then we'll ask questions.
Thank you.
Gotta say my spiel. The public comments portion of the public hearing is now open for elevated use permit 22-02. If there's anyone wishing to speak on the item, you have 5 minutes to provide your comments. Please make sure you document your name for the record, and let us know whether or not you live inside the city limits.
Greetings. My name's Dan Kennedy. I have an active business license in the city of Wasilla. My business license is Mountain Village, LLC. We're here this evening to speak in support of the new permit, 2202. We think the applicant has done an outstanding job in the community providing construction aggregate for not only businesses, but hundreds of families that need construction aggregate in the community. And accordingly, we think they have demonstrated high ethical standards in dealing with their businesses, and very supportive of continuing to develop this wonderful resource for the rest of the community. And it's been terrific for the whole greater Wasilla area, not just the residents and businesses within the community. It's much bigger than that, especially down KGB Road. Also, for the record, I did submit positive comments in support, and they didn't show up in the packet, like on page 29 of your packet. I actually submitted those to that email address, and accordingly, the city must spam out all my email that I sent to the city. So that concludes my comments, and I hope you approve the permit as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this resolution? All right, seeing that nobody's coming forward, we're going to close the public participation portion of the hearing and invite the applicant back up. Ketchum? Is there anything else that you wish to add before the commission members have any questions?
Yeah, there is a couple more things. Thank you, Commissioner Bushnell. I forgot to mention, we have been operating on this parcel for 6 seasons. This is our 7th season. And we do a tremendous amount of retail sales. So we're not just selling to contractors. We're selling to, we had a grandma come in the other day and needed 20 buckets of rocks, and we assisted her because that's the right thing to do. But we're selling retail materials and construction aggregates, like Mr. Kennedy had said, to probably at least a 5-mile radius of that property. I do want to mention that Connect Goose Bay Phase 1 has advertised and is scheduled to bid on June the 1st. And that goes from Palmer-Wasilla Highway to South Clapp and Fairview Loop. That's Phase 1. It will probably take this season and at least 1.5 more, so probably not finishing until 2024, at which time the second phase will probably advertise and bid. So we're looking at, a 4 to 5 years of construction along Connect Goose Bay, and we service that area significantly. We have enough aggregates to supply some of the materials for that project, but we certainly don't want to deplete our reserves on one project coming through. I also wanted to mention for you guys' use is we have been generating our own power. We do not have power along that corridor, and we are next to several other industrial parcels that are going to be very difficult for anybody to want to purchase and develop if there's no power. I've spoke with Mrs. Nygaard about this several times, and MEA, it's about 1,500 feet from us, but it would behoove the city to help push some power, Phase 3 power going along that corridor and help develop the rest of the industrial area where we're located. And that was it.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Do any of the commission members have questions at this time for the applicant?
None at this time.
Commissioner Burney, I do, please.
Sure.
If I'm asking redundant questions, please forgive me. I'm relatively new to Planning Commission. I know this has been going on for a long time, so just for probably more the clarification purposes than anything else. But I know that you'll more than likely, or you already have a SWIP plan in place and put together. Would maintaining erosion control fall in that SWIP plan?
Yes, sir.
So is it necessary for that to be addressed within this ordinance? Because it looks like SWIP has already been addressed within this, has it not? I mean, by state regulations, you have to have.
Yeah, by state regulation, we have to have a SWIP, which includes a hazardous material control plan.
Right. Okay.
So it would be redundant if it said, make sure and maintain a SWIP. However, that's pretty standard language. Even in DOT work and things, they'll say, you need to get all of the permits that meet federal regulations, but then they will actually specifically call out a stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Okay.
But it is somewhat redundant, you're correct.
And then I also noticed, and I can't seem to, I saw it on my packet online, there was a section where it called for a 3-to-1 slope on sloped areas, and then I'm seeing in the ordinance 2-to-1 slope.
I was going to have a question about that here in a second. Yeah, because
Okay. Can we address it now? Or?
they need to take that back to Mrs. Crawford.
Okay.
That will be a Tina Crawford question.
So we can do that?
Yep.
Okay.
My take on that, Commissioner Birdie, is 2-to-1 is the regs. we will most likely do 3-to-1s. 2-to-1s are still relatively steep and they're actually difficult to build. So we will most likely have 3-to-1 slopes on there, but 2-to-1 is the Department of Natural Resources Reclamation Plan regulation.
Well, my first thought was you'd bench in a couple, you'd have to bench up, or, but I guess 2-to-1 is
Yeah, and we don't have too big of slopes.
No.
We potentially will have some larger ones on the southern side, but and a 2-to-1's pretty steep. You can build it with a cat, but
Right. Okay. And then another question I had, I noticed there's a swale coming down to the pond, right?
yes.
Where's the runoff on overflow of the pond, or is that not even a concern?
It is a concern, but we hired a hydrologist. The report is in there from HDL. The hydrologist's name is Doug Simon. He did the analysis on by building a pond, what is that going, where is it going to equalize? And if water does infiltrate into that pond from that swale, which it will stabilize itself. And it won't overflow. It'll get to a certain point, it's running right back into the ground. It can only...
So it perks pretty good and
Yes.
levels itself out with the water table.
Yes, it perks very well in that area. And he's got some, if you can see them in color, they help make some sense on his analysis of the pond.
Right.
And he has some verbiage in there of where the equalization of that water table is. Because on one end of the pond, with our monitoring wells, it's about 1.5 to 2 feet higher than the other side of the pond, even that close. And so they will stabilize and equalize at some point, but it won't have any negative impacts on surrounding water bodies or wells, and that's in his report as well.
Okay. And then I noticed a couple of, looks like elevation cuts in here that I didn't see. AA and BB.
Yeah, these are those.
Okay. I guess I must have missed that in my packet then.
Yeah, I think that's 4 of 4. And page 2 and 3 of our site plan are cross sections of the entire pit. So one of them it goes through.
Oh, I got
Right here you see BB.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one here where there's AA.
AA.
And the reason we did those is there is an area that we've got a fill area that we're gonna grade. We're gonna either balance material from the site or import bankable material to produce a level pit floor there.
And then the overburden pile is used to protect the creek?
Yeah, it's really pushed up on the edge. It's used as a buffer. It's not necessarily a creek protection, although it would certainly turn into that if there were the 100-year floodplain goes. It's all it's 50 feet each side of Lucille Creek.
Sure.
It's more of storage if we have to come back. Initially currently we have to take a lot of that back down and spread it over the entire floor, 4 inches, and so we were storing it, but you need to stabilize it while you store it for your SWIP.
Yep.
It will remain like it is, most likely in a 3-to-1 slope format there, and
Sure. Understood. And then let's see, I had 2 more questions. And it's more, I guess, these have probably been hashed over, so this is more kind of get the history of it. But it appears that there was a 30% of the land was to be cleared and excavated, and now it's 15% of land will remain. I'm sorry, 30% was to remain out. Now it's 15% undisturbed.
yeah, that was Wasilla Code. When we initially got our permit in 2016, 30% was required by code to remain undisturbed. And so we showed that much undisturbed land, which is about 20 acres on a 60-acre parcel. So now the municipal code, which changed the year after we got the permit, the municipal code is 15% needs to remain undisturbed or re-landscape once you've done that.
Okay. And then in your aggregate storage capacity and or I take you're bringing in fines, you're bringing in rock, or you'll be processing the stone on site.
Yeah, the only thing that we're importing right now is broken asphalt that we recycle, crush, and resell to the market. And then we have imported some peat from off-site so that we blend with some of the topsoil that we have and then some of the sand that we get when we are processing some of the material that we have to make topsoil. So we've got about 12 different products. We own our own screening plant. We can make about 8 products with that. The remaining products that are crushed, we subcontract that out to a portable crusher that comes in and crushes for 3 or 4 months. And that's why they had some hours of operation that were different than what our business operations are. And that's where it gets a little bit clunky in those hours there.
I was assuming the processing would be the request for the off-hour, opening of the site, or.
Well, the crushing was more restrictive than our screening and our hours of operation for retail because of the noise.
Sure.
And we were trying to mitigate that. We've had a crusher in there 3 different times, and we haven't gotten a single complaint that I'm aware of. So it's gone pretty well in the way we've mitigated noise. And so there were some hours of operation specifically for crushing operation, but we were able to open for business and screen gravel and load gravel, sell gravel, even in the winter times, outside of those crushing restrictions.
Understood. And then are you washing anything on site?
We do not have any washed products.
Okay.
We probably should. That's a good idea because we're going to have some water
It's
here.
in high demand.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions after that? Okay. Mrs. Crawford, since you're on the line, I don't have any more questions for Mr. Ketchum, but I did have a question about the 2-to-1 versus the 3-to-1. I saw the 2-to-1 in the resolution, but in the packet it was asking for a 3-to-1. So is that a typo?
No, the 2-to-1 is a carryover from the original approval.
Okay.
It's just keeping that in there. Unfortunately, it wasn't asked to go to 3-to-1, and I'm not going to even say that I'm an engineer. Normally, I rely on the public works director to tell me the difference between a 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 slope. But what it's always said is it must be less than or equal to a 2-to-1 slope.
Okay. So
And,
a 3-to-1 would be allowed then if so desired because it would take more materials, et cetera, and be a more stable slope. So
right. That was my understanding. So it wasn't in the list of requests, but I also didn't catch it. But it's certainly something you can amend if you think it needs to be clarified.
I think we're good.
It'd be easier to track in hydro seed, if I'm not mistaken.
We'll leave that portion written as it is because what they're wanting to do is within those parameters. Yet if they wish to change, they're still within their parameters. So that's good to go. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ketchum, thank you for your presentation. And I don't think we have any other questions at this point in time. At this point in time, we'll entertain a motion on this resolution.
Commissioner Seals, Wasilla Planning Commission Resolution Serial Number 22-02. A resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission approving use permit number, amending previously approved use permits U1602 and U1702 to 1. extend extraction approval period. 2, allow clearing and excavation of an additional 9.5 acres. 3, allow excavation within 4 feet of water table. 4, increase hours of operation for sales, rock crushing, and gravel extraction. 5, amend clearing setback from Lucille Creek from 200 feet to allow for a 75-foot setback. 6, remove the reclamation requirement to add topsoil and seed for future development. And 7, clear up to an additional 15% of the lot. Property is located at 1614 South Clapp Street, Lot 4A, Township 17 North, Range 2 West, Section 13. The subject property is zoned industrial, which requires approval of a use permit for gravel extraction in accordance with Wasilla Municipal Code 16.12.020 A3 and Wasilla Municipal Code 16.20.020.
Very good. Is there a second?
A second?
Right.
Jordan?
So just for clarification, it's not 4A, it's A4.
Where's that?
You read 4A, lot 4A. It's actually A4. I just wanted to clarify.
Got it. A4. Yep. As far as 4H years.
Dang it.
All right, we have a motion that's been made and it has been seconded. So it now is open for discussion and amendments. And I would like to make a series of motions to this amendment. I'm going to do one and then discuss. Go on. So, number 1, motion. I move to amend the title of resolution serial number 22-02 by inserting 22-02 after use permit in the second line as follows. A resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission approving use permit number 22-02, amending previously approved use permit 1602. Continue, and it continues on from there.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion to amend the resolution?
Commissioner Seals, not at this time.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion number 1 carries. I'm going to make motion number 2 to the amendment. I move to amend, this is Commissioner Bushnell, I move to amend number 2 in the title of resolution serial number 22-02 to add the following clarifying language. 2, with parentheses, allow clearing / excavation of additional 9.5 acres plus or minus, comma, which includes clearing within 10 feet of the southern lot line.
Commissioner Seals seconds.
Second motion to the amendment has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Not this time, Commissioner
Okay.
Lee.
Is there anybody in disagreement to this motion? Hearing no disagreement, the second motion to the amendment carries. Commissioner Bushnell, I make motion number 3 to amend conditional use approved number 22-02. I move to amend condition number 1 to remove, in parentheses, in strike-through / underline format at the end of the sentence as indicated below. Number 1, following conditions of the approval adopted in Planning Commission Resolution serial number 16-05 AM as amended by Resolution serial number 17-02 AM and AA Administrative Approval Permit number 21-16, are still in effect for this general extraction operation, period.
Commissioner Seals seconds.
Okay, the third amendment to the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I would like a little further explanation of this one, if you don't mind.
Sure, and in the applicants, in the application, they were requesting the additional, the clearing and excavation of the 9.5 acres. And in there was a clarification included to the, in the 10 feet of the southern lot line, which is south up the hill, which had previously been an excluded area. And the 10 feet is the setback for the lot zoning. It was excluded in this, it just said an additional 9.5 acres, and it's the clarifying portion of that sentence.
Yeah, understood. Nothing further this time.
Okay, is there any objections to the third amendment to the motion? Okay, hearing no objections, the third amendment carries. Amendment number 4, I move to amend condition number 6 to add the following language, clarifying language. Number 6, hours of operation for gravel extraction are limited to Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that'll be for the gravel extraction itself, that'll clarify.
Commissioner Seals seconds.
Is there any fourth amendment to the motion has been made and seconded? Is there any discussion?
No discussion at this time.
Okay. Is there anybody opposed to amendment number 4 of the motion? Hearing no one against, the amendment number 4 carries. Amendment number 5. Okay. Amendment number 5. I move to amend condition number 8 to add the following language at the end of the condition as indicated below. 8. A minimum of 15% of the parcel must remain in natural vegetation in the areas shown on the approved site plan dated April 11, 2022, included as Exhibit B in Resolution Serial Number 22-02. In addition to the areas shown in site plan, a 10-foot wide vegetative buffer along the entire length of the southern line must remain undisturbed. And in parentheses, not indicated on the site plan, period.
Commissioner Seals seconds.
No discussion at this time.
All right, amendment number 5 has been made and seconded. Is there anybody opposed to the amendment? Amendment number 5 carries. All right, amendment number 6 is clarifying language. I make a motion to amend the condition number 10 to strike the portion of however, instead of leaving the pit floor as gravel, the floor must be covered with topsoil and seeded with grass during the final reclamation of all phases is completed. And replace it with, however, if the site has not been redeveloped within 5 years, the City of Wasilla may require that the floor be covered with topsoil and seeded during the final reclamation phase, after all reclamation phases have been completed. Does that,
Second that.
okay, second, and does that make sense? And
It does make sense. When I first, my first go at it was 36 months from the adoption of this versus 60 months or 5 years. I believe that's reasonable.
I just picked 5 because I
Yeah.
read 5-year leases and they come awful darn quick.
Right. If anybody has any disagreement with 36 months.
I think 5 is well adequate in this situation. You know, who knows what's gonna happen 5 years from now. But we've addressed the issue, so I think, is there any,
It's up to us. Part of for 36 months versus 5 years. 3 years will happen fairly quickly. 5 years, not quite so much, but not all of the site is probably going to get sold off and redeveloped all at once. So there'll be portions of it, so that some of it's going to go quickly, most likely, which would fall within, of course, 3 years like you're thinking, and there'll be leftover portions of that which will take, sales take longer sometimes for those larger parcels, which would then allow the city to come back and say, you know, we want you to take care of the rest of this, but it also leaves that window of when it's going to happen. 3 years might happen quick. You have to make a decision. 5 years, part of the plan's going to happen. The other side of that is anything in this project that gets subdivided out and wants to be redeveloped inside the city limits is going to automatically get a 15% landscaping tattoo to it. So even though the whole site has a 15% landscape natural that's being left as reclaimed, everything that gets reclaimed or developed inside is going to add another 15%.
And the border around the area we're talking about is already,
It won't count. It will only count.
but it's already vegetated
Correct.
around the area, so.
So any of the, like, if you took a 5 acre square industrial site out there, they put a drive-in and they set 10 industrial sites. So take 50 acres of, I'm just using a round number, but it doesn't add up. Each one of those is going to have a 15% landscape requirement according to industrial. And that's not going to be the same. So there are some not complete control challenges in the future should it drag on, because if it's not developed, it won't trigger those. But then if it is developed, it'll get triggered quicker. And then at 5 years, it allows the city to come back in.
I guess in either case, whether it's 36 months, 60 months, 5, whatever you want to say
Same
it,
thing.
they'd still have to come back in either case for either an extension or
Correct.
some sort of plan moving forward. And either way, I'm okay.
So the motion is at 5 at the moment. We have one person with like 3 years,
I'm at 5.
and I made it at 5, so we'll stick it at 5 at the moment. City attorney, are you okay with that language?
Yes, I'm okay with that language.
Is there any further discussion? Is there anybody opposed to amendment number 6? Hearing none, amendment number 6 carries. So the, all right, so the new
You got
motion,
it all straight.
I'm gonna see if I can get this right. See if I can get it right the first.
Don't get the A in the fourth. Yeah.
I will not. So, there's a motion that's been amended to approve Wasilla Planning Commission Resolution Serial Number 22-02. A resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission approving use permit 22-02, amending previously approved use permits number 16, U16-02 and number U17-02 to 1, extend the extraction approval period. 2, allow clearing and excavation of additional 9.5 plus or minus acres, comma, which includes a clearing of within 10 feet of the southern lot line. 3, allow excavation within 4 feet of the water table. 4, increase hours of operation for sales, rock crushing, and gravel extraction. 5, amend clearing step back from Lake Lucille Creek from 200 feet to allow a 75-foot setback. 6, remove the reclamation requirement to add topsoil and seed for future developments. And 7, clear up the additional 15% to clear up to an additional 15% of the lot, period. Property is located at 1614 South Clapp Street, Lot A4, Township 17 North, Range 2 West, Section 13. The subject property is zoned industrial, which requires approval use permit for gravel extraction in accordance to Wasilla Municipal Code 16.12.020A in parentheses, 3 in parentheses, and Wasilla Municipal Code 16.20.020. Clerk, could you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Seals,
I agree.
Commissioner Bernie,
I agree.
Commissioner Bushnell.
I agree. The resolution is agreed and passes. Thank you. I'm not reading it again.
You want to take a break?
I'm not reading it again. Usually I read it again.
Did a lot better on that than the motions.
Hey, I'm just warming up.
I just had to add it.
Just warming up. So, on that note, unfinished business, there's no unfinished business. We'll move on to communications. Did everybody have a chance to look through the permit logs and I didn't see anything on enforcement. So that we haven't, no tickets as of late. And the Wasilla Planning Commission agenda, if you guys looked at that, there was 3 different things that were going in there.
What happened to the one that was supposed to go last time? Is it coming up?
I don't know. All right, since there's no comments, I'm going to move on to audience participation at this point in time. If anybody would care to come up and speak on whatever you'd like to speak about, you may. Same rules, state your name for the record. This closes the audience participation of our hearing. Do any of our staff members have any comments? City Attorney? City Attorney, you still there?
I'm here, no comments from me.
I thought maybe you snuck out on us.
Never would sneak out on you guys.
City Clerk?
You mean city planner? I have no comment.
I can't comment.
Okay. City Planner? You still there? You're still here.
I am still here. Thank you for your hard work, and I apologize for all the motions. But I think it'll be a much better document. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner comments? I have one comment. Thank you, everybody, for working through this, and thank you, Commissioner Bernie, for the questions you do ask, because while we may have gone through this over the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years actually, not everything is always top of mind, so there's no bad questions. But thank you very much. And without further ado, at 7:01, commission is meeting is ended. Done.
Maybe put